Hey up YouTube, what's going on? Amazing here, bringing the week 10 recaps for the NPA here in season 3. Yes, as you may notice, it's me doing the intro this week because we did get a sort of scheduled time to record. It was quite late my time at that point, but Juan did give me a notification in advance of that, telling me that his, I can't remember if it was power cable or charger, something like that, had basically kicked the bucket and therefore had no access to his computer, which is obviously largely problematic if you want to record with someone. So Juan sends his regards, but for now it's just me, I'm afraid. And because Juan didn't really get a chance to even watch any of the battles before that, happened. I don't really have any notes for his side of things either. So I do apologise if this is, well, I don't apologise for this being a lot briefer than usual, but I do apologise if it's a lot less concise. No, not concise. Concise is what you want. A lot less in depth. I do apologise if it's a lot less in depth than usual. But it should be a little bit quicker than usual, A, because it's just me, and B, because there's a few matches where basically, well, nothing happened. So we should be able to rattle through these fairly quickly. And also, a quick note from last week. I'm not entirely sure what happened last week, because last week I was unavailable, and someone did step in for me, and I think there was a recording, but I have no idea what happened to it or why it never got online. So don't ask me, I have no idea. But moving on to this week, we can quickly rattle through these battles as quickly as we can. Too many quicklies in one sentence. I do apologise. Anyway, battle number 1 is IOWvNOP's Radioactive versus New Orleans Pelipper's John, aka Pokemon. Wrong way around. That might hurt someone's OCD. I do apologise for that as well. This is a 3-0 win for John because Brady forfeited on the basis of the fact that he's in the process of moving into what sounds to be something really, really fun, in the fact that there's a group of people, quite a lot of these people in the NPA in fact, deciding to shack up together in a streamer house. So that sounds pretty cool. So if you follow those guys, you're probably aware of that situation. But yeah, because Brady had no time to bowl, he did forfeit that to John. So that's a 3-0 win to John, which really helps his playoff chances. I'm in PPL. I do apologise. I'm in PPL. I'm in PPL mode. My brain's saying promotion chances. Playoff chances. It really helps his playoff chances. I'm so used to talking about promotion chances with PPL. Sorry. But yeah, we get to move straight on to the Hampshire Haunters, coached by Goffey's Enigma, versus Pittsburgh Pichus, coached by MUvLAL. This is a 3-0 win to Nexus as well. It's a 3-0 win in exactly the same form as the last match, but this one was actually played. My first line on this is holy bleeping bleep, the hacks. Mainly because there was a Fire Blast miss which sealed the deal. Because Volcanion missed a Fire Blast. That is what absolutely sealed the deal for MUvLAL there, in my opinion. There was a power crit as well, where Meowstic got fully powered and then Mesprit crit it with a U-turn. Had that not crit, that would have well lived that U-turn, because there was a screen up at that point. Not sure if it would have even killed without the screen. So there was no point heal belling at that point with Meowstic, because Meowstic was the only thing that was statused. Therefore, you did basically just had to risk the prankster at that point, frankly, because you could have just saved the Meowstic and then got a screen or a light screen or reflector blade on the match, which could have been crucial. But because of the power and the crit U-turn, that didn't happen, and that Meowstic was out of action for the rest of the match, which was really, really unfortunate. Oh, turn 1, yeah, turn 1. It was Frostlass versus turn 2, Frostlass versus Scissor, because turn 1 got us some spikes, lovely spikes. But turn 2, Scissor versus Frostlass. Now, if you'd said that you were staying in because you were fearing Pursuit, I'd have agreed with your play to stay in. As it was, you didn't mention Pursuit at all, therefore I did not agree with you staying in with Frostlass versus Scissor, because Bullet Punch 99% of the time, well, 90% of the time, the other 10% of the time, probably Pursuit. But because there was no mention of Pursuit in your thinking on that turn, I cannot agree with you staying in there. Had he clicked Pursuit, that would have been wonderful, but if he'd even had it. But because Bullet Punch happened, then that's just a dead Frostlass, and that's gone for the rest of the match on turn 2. In general, I just felt Goffrey's was a little bit overzealous with Volcanion switching in, because rocks were up. Also, more to the point, bringing nothing to remove rocks really didn't help. But because rocks are up, it really hurt Volcanion, because it couldn't just switch in all the time. Like, it really, really switches into Scissor. Not gonna lie, that was eating Scissor's hits up like it was absolutely nothing. But because the rocks are up, like the rocks were doing about 4 times as much damage as any mon on his team was at that point. So yeah, that wasn't really helpful for you. But I'm just trying to remember what really happened on for Nexus and those things. Because obviously I haven't watched any of the away signs. Because let's face it, guys, you've got 12 there's 24 teams. That's a lot of matches to be watching for one person. So yeah, that's why we do split. That's why we do split up 50-50 normally. But because one's not here, I have no idea what any of the away teams are thinking. For the most part, there were a couple of matches where the home team did not load, so therefore I did have to watch the away side, as it were. But yeah, the hacks, that Fire Blast miss was just really what sealed the deal, I'm afraid. There was mention at the end, of course. There was mention at the end where you said that sorry about Electivire. But if it was a Scarf Electivire, you still lost anyway. So don't be too downhearted, Goffies, about that hacks. But it was really, actually, to be honest, the power crit on the Meowstick was actually probably just as important as the Fire Blast missed, in my opinion. Because you could have got that screen up, which would have saved your life at the end. But if that was a Scarf Electivire, then yeah, you'd have lost anyway, probably. So don't worry too much about it. Yeah. Oh. Tapu Lele was scarfed as well because it outsped Manaphy. But I think Tapu Lele died in that match, so I'm trying to work out why I wrote that down. Oh well, I'm sure that'll make sense to the people in the match, but yeah, never mind. Oh yeah, that was what was interesting, yeah, because Tapu Lele outsped Manaphy, therefore he was either scarfed or Manaphy wasn't full speed for some reason. I'm not sure why that's relevant in my notes, but that's the thing I wrote down. Moving on, we can go to the Minnesota Vikavolt. Dan versus the Seattle Staraptors Gearhart. This match has been postponed to week 12. So you'll get that match talked about in 2 weeks' time. So see you then, guys. So moving on to match number 4. See, told you we'd rattle through these because some of these matches didn't even happen. United Kingler, coached by Professor Willow, versus Marianne Torterrapins, coached by Under the Radar, aka Kelly. This is a 4-0 win to the Torterrapins. Willow sadly didn't upload a battle, so I had to watch Kelly's side of this one, so I have no idea what Willow was thinking for most of this, and I kind of wish I did know because Willow kept trying to set up whilst there was a Whirlwind Skarm around. In fact, even tried to set up on the Whirlwind Skarmory at one point, which was confusing, to say the least. Yeah, so no idea why I was deciding to set up Calm Minds on a Skarmory which had shown Whirlwind already. Especially Calm Minds, considering that Skarmory is also a physical one, usually. So, could have done, you know, some physical damage to it and then just Whirlwinded it out whenever it liked. Because Skarmory still does resist, unless it had Thunderbolt. I don't know if the Lalias had Thunderbolt. If it did have Thunderbolt, then that would have been alright to try and, you know, hit it with a Thunderbolt. But it had Whirlwind, so as soon as it showed Calm Mind, it was like, well, bye. So, and then in fairness, like the Gyarados wasn't setting up on the Skarmory, but the second the Gyarados came in, the Skarmory came in, Gyarados DD'd on the Skarmory switch in, and then bye again. So I don't know what the plan was there in terms of trying to set up whilst there was a Skarmory around with Whirlwind. But anyway, not really talk about this. Mashana was a pain in the rear end in general for Willow. Like Kelly said in his side of the match, like the combination of Skarmory and Mashana was really hard for Willow to break. And yeah, you just look at that squad. It was quite hard to break, that's for sure. Pardon me, it's quite late, so apologies for that. You're on there. Essentially, I obviously, because I see the results before I actually watch the matches for the most part, because I like to try and get these lovely slides done before I watch the matches if I have the time, but sometimes those slides aren't filled in on the document, so I don't get the opportunity, but this one was. This one was filled in before I got to watch it, so and yeah, so I kind of knew that Lucario got the kills here, and you know, Lucario doing the things is always nice and lovely. But watching the match, I could really see Kelly working. Like you could see Kelly's game plan as you watched him. Sort of like, oh, well, this is now in range of Lucario. This is now in range of Lucario. This is now in range of Lucario. Bam, Lucario's in, killing everything. Bye. Okay, game over. So, Well played. Well executed by Kelly, really. Not really much Willow could do by that match, as far as I could tell. Not really much he could do much different, other than not setting up on a phaser, basically. So we get to move on to the Philadelphia Braveries, coached by Chris Cobain, versus the Tampa Bay Luxuries, coached by Exception. And this... I kind of feel like Exception has sort of either very good weeks or very bad weeks. We can chalk this up to a very bad week because this was a 5-0 to Chris. But in fairness, like, the Braveries have been picking up a lot of big wins throughout the season, so don't feel too bad about it because he has like 6-0 and 5-0 to quite a lot of people this season. But I have one major question. Why the heck was there a Dancy there in the first place? Because, in all honesty, I felt like the Luxrays lost on matchup here. Sorry, I think I may have said Lalias in the previous one. I might even typed out Lalias in the previous one on the sheet. I think it was Lalios that the other team has. I think Lalias is here. I've got Lalias twice in my notes here. But anyway, switching, yeah. Dancy has a god-awful matchup in this thing, because Chris, the Braveries, have 2 ground types, 2 steel types on the roster, 2 water types on the roster, although admittedly one of them is Imperial, so that fills both things. And most of all, a Dog Trio in that lot, because, yeah, didn't really do a lot offensively. Although ironically, it was the one thing to pick up the kill, but that was mainly because Dog Trio had like 0 health at that point and Dancy outsped it, so yeah. Frankly, anything faster than Dog Trio would have got the kill there. Oh no, it wasn't faster. It was the only thing that could take the hit from Dog Trio and then kill it. So it kind of only got the kill from process of elimination there, because there was anything with enough health left to take on Dog Trio, take a hit from Dog Trio, and then kill it. So yeah, because as soon as I saw the answer there, I thought, well, doggy trap, doggy kill. Sadly, I wasn't what it killed, but it did trap Porygon Z. Did trap the Porygon Z, whatever, who cares? Which was locked into Thunderbolt, which was a bit naive, really. Bit naive clicking Thunderbolt on a Choice Mon whilst Dog Trio is still around, because doggy trap, doggy kill, basically. Also managed to get rocks up in that exchange as well, because there was nothing the Porygon could do. So it's like, well, double check he is like choiced in some way. Yep, choiced. Sell my rocks. Yep, that's good. Now kill the Porygon Z. Everything's fine and dandy. So yeah, that was a nice and easy 5-0 really in the end, because frankly the Braveries just had the team matchup here. There wasn't really much the Luxrays could do outside of some really out of the box strategies here, in my opinion. But yeah, I felt they just lost the matchup more than anything here. One question, switching physically offensive mons into to the Araquanid was ballsy, because, you know, Scold exists. I know Araquanid is physical, but he does usually pack the Scold, because burning things is nicer than lowering the defense in most cases. So yeah, switching in, I want to say MINvSES was a bit ballsy. No, I suppose you want to switch in Zygarde either. Not sure what was switching in, now I think about it. Araquanid, in fairness, Araquanid did have a fairly good matchup here, but that was about it. So yeah, 5-0. Not much more to say about that. I did write, and this, I apologise if this is slightly offensive, but Chicago, next match is Chicago Cub Chews Galactic Elliot versus Waterloo Swordsbucks. It's coached by Old School Sin. And this was the 2-0 win for the Swordsbucks. I did put question marks, like a bunch of question marks after that 0-2, because when I wrote that down on these notes, the match wasn't filled in, so I had no idea like what really happened. No, I think it was filled in, but I haven't seen it. I was just like, what? How? Like, this is probably the biggest upset of the season. Now, I am aware, like, I wasn't aware of any matches, like, I have no idea of any matches what happened last week. So I had no idea that Sin actually won last week as well. So he's a bit on a streak at the moment. But, that being said, this is the Metagross Fable Salamence core with a bunch of other scary things, which people like, which we, everyone fears and found really like, I have no idea how I'd break that, and yet somehow it has been broken a few times this season. But I was really not expecting it here, if I was honest. So yeah, but watching the match, I can kind of see how it fell apart for Elliot here, and this is not taking anything away from the way Sin played as such. Sin kind of played his usual, fairly predictable game, and Elliot did pick up on that. Like, he once, like, as it has happened for pretty much every single game involving the Souls books, his opponent has sort of paid attention to what's happening and then is reacting to the same set of things. Like, every time Arcanine was in, he would switch Hydreigon. No, it was like Arcanine versus, say, Tapu Bulu, or Arcanine versus Magnezone. He would switch in Hydreigon because the Melodic was dead at that point. Once the Melodic was down, Hydreigon was his switch into Arcanine. Therefore, the Arcanine was clicking Dragon Pulse every time. Hydreigon came in and got it down to 7 health as a result from 2 hits. Now, I feel if that Arcanine had invested slightly less in defense, because let's face it, obviously Arcanine does have the Intimidate, which is probably just enough for the Bulu in the first place. But the Arcanine, if the Arcanine had invested slightly a little bit more in special attack there, that Hydreigon would have been dead because of how predictable Sin's play is sometimes. And in this case, it was so predictable. He managed to predict the Hydreigon coming in twice. Didn't even even after the first time Hydreigon was predicted with a Dragon Pulse, he still brought it in a second time, and it got Dragon Pulsed again. So mix up your play a little bit. Still, Sin, like, I know you're picking up the wins now, but you still need to be a little less predictable. But this match was largely broken by, I don't even know why. I understand why Will-O-Wisp was on Arcanine, because, Bulu hurts. But at the same time, Bulu's not going to stay in on a Will-O-Wisp. I think it was, I'm not even sure if that was what was in on it when he did the Will-O-Wisp. I'm guessing it was. It'd be either that or Mimikyu. But it's not going to want to take a Will-O-Wisp. And Melodic, like, Will-O-Wisp whilst Melodic is still around, that's the no-no. That's the big no-no, frankly. Secondly, do not leave physical attackers in on a Melodic, especially when that physical attacker is mega metagross. Because Skull Burns are essentially 100% when you don't want them to be. And yeah, guess what? Metagross got Skull Burn. Somehow still picked up 2 kills during the match though, despite being burned. That kind of says everything about Mega Metagross, frankly, and why it should not be allowed in League Form whatever. But yeah, final crit did matter probably in terms of the damage, but yeah, Magnezone would have died, but he would have been locked into Aerial Ace, and I think Tapu Bulu could have taken 1 at the very least. If Tapu Bulu had no coverage for Salamence, then yeah, okay, maybe the Salamence would have won from there. Oh, because yeah, it would have got the Moxie boost. It might not have survived another Aerial Ace. My Tapu Bulu's defense is fairly high, but I'm not sure if +1 Salamence would have killed. Even from, like, because I think Tapu Bulu was still at full health. So, might have, because it is an Aerial Ace, let's, still face it. It's not, Fly or anything. But I was kind of surprised there was no Fire move on Salamence, if I'm honest, because Magnezone does really, sod it up. And if you are going to be choiced, you kind of want to have the movesets that hit the majority of the team very, very well. Then obviously there's a Chandelure with Flash Fire around, but Magnezone Tapu Bulu could have easily been an end of game thing, and it wasn't. As what happened, Magnezone and Tapu Bulu were the last 2 things left. If there was a Fire move on that Salamence, Sin lost. As it was, if he didn't crit, Sin might have lost. But that being said, it was as much Sin just kind of almost outlasting Elliot more than anything. With Metagross being burned, that really helped. So yeah, with Metagross being burned and then Magnezone for some reason having absolutely no checks on the other side, not really sure. Like, I know Salamence had the Earthquake, but I'm not sure where any other coverage for Magnezone was if I'm honest. I'm assuming there was Earthquake on Mega Rose, of course. But yeah, you definitely need to have Earthquake on Mega Rose in case it was Magnet Zone. But Mega Rose gets too much coverage in Magnet Zone for that to be really an effective tactic. So yeah, not really sure what to say about that, Elliot. It's a really unfortunate match in that situation. For you in terms of the, well, be a bit smarter around Mega Rose and try not to burn a melodic. Good idea in general. So yeah, moving on. Munchlash United, Bob versus Los Angeles Landers, Jerry Oak. This was a 2-0 win for Jerry Oak, and I'm aware that we're only about just over halfway through this week in terms of the recap, but I didn't watch these battles in the order that I'm talking about them. But my first line of notes here is I'm getting fed up of writing hacks this week, because yeah, this was painful to watch as well. I would just like to point out that the majority of these matches were away wins, and that's why I'm really happy that I was actually sort of watching the home sides, because I kind of watched the side that lost for the most part, which is usually the side, you know, where there's something to talk about because they've done something wrong. Actually, as it turns out, most of them just got hacks to death this week. Full power on Greninja, that sucked. 2 low rolls, also sucked. Also sucks this season is making Moltres look good. Moltres isn't good. So, as you wrote, actually hitting a hurricane feels like hacks at this point. Because of all the other stuff that went against Bob this week. The fact that Moltres hit the damn hurricane as well felt like a kick in the teeth. So, yeah, that basically summarises that match. Greninja got fully paralysed, which prevented UKvMAR dying. I think, prevented UKvMAR dying earlier than it did in the actual match. 2 low rolls made it so that 2 things survived when they had a good chance not to. And then yeah, Moltres picked up a kill again, I think. So, like, don't get me wrong, I like Moltres. I like all the legendary birds, to be honest. And I do have a soft spot for all of them. But it's not good in league format. Like, NPA fans, I know that the NPA has a bigger, like, one of the biggest followings of any league on YouTube. Moltres isn't that good. Moltres isn't as good as this is looking. Moltres keeps taking advantage of hacked Pokemon, I think. I know it picked up a couple of weeks ago against Jodor when Jodor got hacked as well. So it's taking advantage of situations. Moltres isn't as good as it actually looks at the moment. Although that being said, as with most flying types at the moment, Supersonic Skystrike does boost its viability because it does give you 100% accurate Super Hurricane and 100% accurate one-turn Super Flies. So Supersonic Skystrike does boost the viability of pretty much any flying type at this point that has access to Hurricane/Fly. So, I can't remember much what happened in that match. Bear in mind I did watch most of these matches a few days ago now because I am recording this Thursday night. I do apologise for how late this is being. Because, like I said, I did plan to record with Juan like late on Tuesday night, and then that didn't happen. And then life took over, so I didn't really have a chance until today to actually record by myself, sadly, which is really weird and annoying. Sorry, I've just read my notes for the next match. Luster City T-Train versus Orlando Magikarp's Choice Specs. And this is another team that didn't start too well, which is picking up a few wins now. Choice Specs won this one 2-0. Largely because of hacks again. It's kind of painful to watch. Like, it's frankly a miracle that Luster City have 7 wins under their belt at this point, considering how badly they've been hacked every single week, pretty much. Generally, my first line of this is just a swear word. It's literally just holy bleep. That's all. 2 Leaf Storm misses in a row. That's all I really have to say about this match. The fact that Superior missed two Leaf Storms in a row, which is ridiculous. I actually really thought Lee Storm was 95% accurate. I think it is 90%, but even so, that's literally a 1% chance. That is literally a 1% chance to happen, and it cost him the match, frankly. Because Superior, if Superior got to +2, there was really nothing. There was really nothing that Specs was doing at that point. Because the only thing naturally faster would have been Aerodactyl, and that would have required like a Supersonic Skytrike to probably kill, something like that. But presumably there was a Scarfer, maybe Gardevoir, that might have outsped as well. So yeah, it was not pleasant to watch. I think McGinnis got. I can't remember if McGinnis got paralysed again. McGinnis gets paralysed so often I can never remember which week it actually gets paralysed. But yeah, it was not fun to watch really. In the end, oh, Pyro picked up another kill, which is another not good Mon, which seems to be doing things recently. Don't pick Pyro. Don't draft Pyro, kids. It's not as good as it looks. Although in fairness, the week that Pyro picked up a bunch of kills, it deserved those kills. Because there was actually nothing to take it on at that point. On the opposed team, that was down to the opponent not prepping for Pyro. Or not having Earthquake on a Gligar for some reason. Yeah, I don't really know much more to say about that match. Like, that being said, I do want to make it clear that as much as one team is losing to hacks, the other team is capitalizing on that and not like throwing it away, like not throwing the opportunity away. So I do want to stress that this, obviously, talking about the hacks against LCPvORL, I'm not taking anything away from the way the Magikarps played here. Like they played well enough to win the match because they got the advantage. Like they got the advantage and they kept the advantage. And that is just as important as getting the advantage in the first. Like, doesn't matter how you get the advantage, really. As long as you keep that advantage, that's good play. If you afforded the opportunity via hacks, then fantastic. Then yeah, that's not the greatest feeling. Not the greatest feeling to win that way, but you still got to take advantage of the situation and stay ahead. And that's what they did. So I'm not taking anything away from the way the Magikarps played there, by the way. So just in case anyone was thinking that, there we are. Moving on, Free State Torracats, Duncan versus Miami Dolphins. Kyle, this is another forfeit. Went in the favour of Kyle. There is a situation with Duncan at the moment. I'm not sure if there's been an announcement video, but basically Duncan's dropped out and someone's taken his place. But I'm sure there's a bigger sort of announcement coming for that later on, so I'm not going to talk about that right now. So that means we get to move on to 3 to go. Yeah, Rochester Rhydons, Big Pump Gaming versus Colorado Rapidash, Moonlight Swami. And this was another 2-0 win. A lot of 2-0 away side wins here. In fact, yeah. So this, oh dear. This was actually not Pum. I should actually mention this was not Pum. This was assistant coach Lindo. And Rock 2 miss cost Lindo the game. It simply did. Swami did get a bit lucky here, if I'm honest. And this was probably the start of my, oh god, hacks situation. Yeah, Rock 2 miss pretty much cost Lindo the game. Like, there's probably still a way that Swami could have won. But had Rock 2 not missed, it would have been Lindo's to lose at that point, because Rock 2 doesn't miss, Rotom dies, Mega Blastoise doesn't die as a result, because Rotom would have been around to kill the Mega Blastoise. Chesnaught also doesn't get burned, and there was also a Leech Seed miss, which also sucked. Like, the Leech Seed miss sucked in the sort of real time in which it happened, but the Leech Seed missing wouldn't have been as important if the Rock Team had killed the Rotom, because the Chesnaught would have been burned, Mega Blastoise would still have been around, and it would have been a completely different game at that point. If he clicked Spiky Shield on the Poison Jab, then Haxorus might have been in a range of a move from Torn, which also noticeably outsped a +2 Haxorus. Oh no, does that have Prankster still? Does Tornado Design get Prankster? No, I just realised I've written that. But yeah. But would have been in a range of a move, maybe, I don't know. I believe he still had extra drill left, so even if somehow he killed the Haxorus, that probably would have beaten the Karam one-on-one anyway. Because I suspect it was probably Scarf extra drill, considering the rest of the team team build-up. There was no T-Tar, so there was no Sand Rush variant, so probably was Mold Breaker Scarf extra drill, so it probably would have outsped the Karam if it wasn't Scarf itself. I'm not sure how that would have worked in terms of investment and items, but yeah, not clicking Scold on the Volcarona was a bit silly as well. Blastoise versus Volcarona. Volcarona was at full health, so Giga Drain wasn't necessary in terms of healing, and considering how it was set up at that point, not letting Volcarona set up would have been probably more important, because if I was Swami there, I would have felt safe to click Quiver, fairly safe to click Quiver Dance rather than switch out, rather than click Giga Drain, predicting the Blastoise to switch out. So could have got the upper hand there, but frankly, it was the Rock Tomb miss that kind of caused the game to go fully into Swami's favour at that point. So, and then Swami capitalised on that and held on to the game 2-0 and got the win. So, like I said, doesn't matter how you get the advantage, as long as you keep the advantage. As long as you keep the advantage by play of your own. If you lose the advantage via, if you lose the advantage via hacks, then that's not bad play at all. Of course, like we can't take anything away from you if you lose the advantage via hacks, but if you gain the advantage and keep the advantage, no matter how you get it, props to you. And Swami's skilled enough, obviously, to do that, and he did. So, capitalised on the situation and won the game, 2-0. Next match, Adelaide Umbreon's Crystal Key versus New York Clink's Papacy. #bars. For a win to the Clinks. Almost bars again. But anyway, this was a very confusing match. Now, obviously, I know Cress was saying she brought some fun things this week, and I could sort of see, I could sort of see that. But one thing, one major thing was Hitmonchan versus, I want to say Leavanny it was. Like you mentioned, you did have I swear there was a mention of a Fire Punch. I might have been going crazy, but I think Hitmonchan had Fire Punch and Ice Punch. And then there was also talk of being scared of Blastoise switching in, and therefore clicking Ice Punch. What? Being scared of Blastoise is not the reason you click Ice Punch over Fire Punch, because they're both resisted by Blastoise. And Leavanny is 4 times weak to Fire Punch. Therefore, if Ice Punch hits, as it did, and doesn't kill, that's entirely because you didn't click Fire Punch. If you click Fire Punch, that would have done twice as much damage and Leavanny would be dead. Not really mattered too much because Leavanny was just sacked off later on, but I think it got a knockoff off in that, because it survived, it got a knockoff off onto Hitmonchan. It's a pain in the ass to say, knockoff off. But it managed to knock off Hitmonchan's Assault Vest, which limited his viability for the rest of the match. And so click Fire Punch, Leavanny dies. And so that's what happened there. One other big question mark was what would have been in Blastoise, I would assume. Blastoise versus Lapras. Why was there Thunderbolt? Isn't one of the whole big things about Lapras is the fact it gets Freeze Dry, which would have hit Blastoise, or the Gligar, or the Zapdos, or the Leavanny? Freeze Dry would have hit 4 of the 6 things super effectively. Why would you not Freeze Dry the Blastoise? There's also Stab as well, of course, Freeze Dry. It does more damage than T-Bolt anyway. But it would have, if you wanted to predict T-Bolt, Gligar's, which didn't dice to Freeze Dry, that wasn't going to happen because, Papa's aware of Freeze Dry happening, I'm guessing, existing. So, a little bit confused as to why there was no Freeze Dry in Lapras, or at the very least, why Freeze Dry was not clicked by Lapras. And then switching out on the Blaziken was not a wise idea in the end because agility happened and the Blaziken killed everything, including itself eventually, which is kind of amusing. What I found amusing was Blaziken set up the agility on the Lapras that switched out, and then proceeded to kill 3 Mons, and then the Lapras was the last thing. Then the Lapras was the last thing standing again. So it was Lapras versus Blaziken, which is now +2, and then he missed the high jump kick, which was really amusing because if he'd missed the high jump kick on the Lapras in the first place, different game. But the fact that it actually missed the Lapras and then killed itself after it killed everything else, after it set up on the switching out Lapras in the first place, was kind of ironic and amusing. But anyway, that's a 4-0 win for the Klinks, which is actually kind of fun because I think, I'm not sure, but I think like Papa C has like a horrendous win-loss record, but was positive ratio after that battle. I just want to make sure because I might have played the next match. No, so that is including that. So that is including the match that has happened. So yeah, he's 3-6, but +3 differential. He's absolutely D2 Kyling the way through his NPA right now. Oh, you picked up a win last week as well. That's why. Because last time I remembered you were 1-6. Wow. So. Oh, that's so funny. Being 3 wins down, but still +3 differential. God, he's having a season and a half. Papa C here. What a season to be a Klinks fan, eh? But anyway, moving on. I'm on the wrong tab entirely now. I didn't want to be on that one. But moving on to the final battle of the week, which is, sorry about that. I just realised I clapped straight into the microphone there. Don't have time to redo that though. Seattle Sea Kings Jodor versus Duke City Dublaze Skylar. The commissioner versus the assistant commissioner, co-commissioner. I'm not sure what the standing is for Skylar officially, but yeah, the two big dogs basically fighting each other. And Hack Socks. Right, this is a match of many talking points, of which few actually matter. Okay, we'll start with the big one. I personally do not view flinching or not flinching with Togekiss as hacks or not hacks. I feel like it kind of has to be under a third chance to be hacks. Like, it's equal, like, you know, 50-50 Zap Cannon to hit. It's not it's hacks either way in that situation. If you take that as a thing, like if you had for some reason the accuracy item Zap Cannon, then you have slightly more chance to hit a Zap Cannon than not to hit a Zap Cannon. You're not going to be surprised if you miss a Zap Cannon. Same kind of thing. Like flinching, you're not surprised when it does flinch, and you're not surprised when it doesn't flinch. Like frankly, I don't really feel 60-40 is like if you had a 40% chance. If you had odds of, if you wanted to do something and you had a 40% chance to lose all your money by doing this, you wouldn't risk it. You wouldn't be surprised if you lost a 40% chance. So I don't really call that hacks, really, in my opinion. If you don't get the flinch, sucks that you didn't. But I don't really call missing it, like not flinching an air slash hacks, in my opinion. 60-40 is not a big enough margin for it to be hacks, in my opinion. That being said, I also feel whilst stench flinching is hacks, I kind of feel like you don't have room. I don't feel like you have the argument, considering you do have a Serene Grace Togekiss on your team. Like losing to a flinch because of ability, you don't get to have that argument when you have a Togekiss, because frankly you could flinch an entire team out. Not like you would, because your hack's luck is terrible, but you don't get to have the argument when you carry one of the worst offenders of flinching via abilities. Yeah, burning Landorus was terrible, but frankly you shouldn't have stayed in on a same thing I said earlier, really. Don't keep your physical win cons in on bulky water types, because they get burned. That's not hacks, that's your own damn fault. Really, it's hacks, but it's still your own damn fault for putting yourself in that situation. Switch out, dude. You don't keep a ground type in on a water type. He's clicking Scold. So, yeah, and if you get burned, then that's your own damn fault. Frankly, sorry, I'm not pulling any punches here. I know you're the commissioner, but not going to pull any punches here. It's your own damn fault. Frankly, in my opinion, the Sea Kings did not lose to hacks. The Sea Kings lost to reckless play because you let things go down far too easily at the start. Like, I kind of blinked and then 3 things were dead. So yeah, I do not feel that Breloom should have been the lead considering the matchup here as well. I'm not really sure why it was. I mean, it does match up reasonably well, but Breloom does allow Venusaur to switch in fairly freely, no matter what. So, I can understand Breloom leading if you then use that to bait in the Venusaur and then double straight away turn 1 into like Togekiss or Metagross. Like, I'd understand that, but you led with Breloom and then I think clicked Bullet Seed on the incoming Venusaur. So yeah, not really sure what you were expecting to come in. Like return, like you had the return, so not really sure why you wouldn't click that because Bullet Seed is resisted even more by Heatran. Not that he switched Heatran in because fighting exists. Skuntank resists the Bullet Seed. Slowbro wouldn't switch in because it's a Slowbro. And so Venusaur was literally the only switching you would have turn 1 there. So either we'd stay in and just HP Ice and fair enough Bullet Seed in that situation, or you'd switch into Venusaur, in which case Return is your play considering you had it. And although Return Bellu was an interesting cool thing, just props for that. Yeah, Mega Sableye switches in on Slowbro and Skuntank fairly well, both of them, so not sure why that wasn't your switch in any time either of those came in, rather than letting Landorus basically die and get burned, and letting Togekiss die to Skuntank as well. So, not sure why Mega Sableye was not switched on either of those. Yeah, I'm not sure why Breloom was your lead, because if you led with Heatran, that scares you out. If you led with Skuntank, that scares you out. Led with Mega Venusaur, Breloom does nothing to that. Although Return was nice, like I said, and jolting out speeds, so we can just Volt Switch into Mega Venusaur, should it want to. I literally only Slowbro was the only thing that would have been good for you there. Maybe Tauros, but you wouldn't have been Scarf. But unless you were Scarf Breloom, that would have been a thing. Oh, yeah, towards the end, Skylar. Tauros, I think it was. What was left? I believe Metagross? I'm trying to think what was left. I think it was Metagross, Landorus. No, hang on. Yeah, it must be Mega Sableye, Metagross, and Landorus. Landorus had no health left, and I think there were rocks. I can't remember if the rocks were up or not, but it was burned. I think it was in range of dying to burn, because that's what happened anyway. As soon as they switched back in again, it just died to burn. So yeah, it was Tauros versus Mega Sableye, Metagross, and Landorus at that point. And Mega Sableye was on low health because of the Stench Flinch or whatever. I think that's what the situation was. I'm not sure why Tauros used Rock Slide there, because the only 2 things left were Metagross and Landorus with no health. And therefore Metagross switches in, Rock Slide does nothing. Rock Slide kills Mega Sableye regardless. Why would you not click Earthquake? Because Metagross could have switched in, Landorus, it doesn't matter if Landorus switches in, it dies to burn. So yeah, that was weird. Other than that, not really much to fault Skylar for, to be honest. He capitalised on the absolutely reckless play of Jodor for the entire match, basically. Well, for the first half of the match, and then got a little bit lucky with the Stench Flinch, basically. The Stench Flinch was the most important thing, not the air/miss, in my opinion, because that's not a, it's near enough 50-50 is damn it. So, yeah, the crit. I feel like the only last other thing is the crit, of course. The crit on Metagross did not matter. The crit on Metagross didn't matter if you hadn't have crit the Tauros back. If you hadn't crit the Tauros back, critting Metagross didn't matter at all, because the amount of damage it did to the Metagross meant that if it didn't crit, it was still a 2-hit KO with Earthquake, and you're still in exactly the same situation as you were before. You can't switch in Landorus because he dies to burn. So you're in exactly the same situation whether you got crit or not there. With the like in your eyes, it's insult or injury, but it didn't matter in terms of the match. Because you crit the Tauros back, that crit on the Metagross actually mattered. If you hadn't crit the Tauros back, then it wouldn't have mattered, that crit at all. But as it was, Slowbo kind of was the Metagross anyway, so as soon as you got the stent flinch, it was game over, really. But anyway, that's a 2-0 win to the Doublés, and that is that. Quick mention, I'm going to make a quick mention at the end here of the playoff race. Now, I'm not sure if these are 100% accurate, because I think a few matches from next week have been filled in, so the standings have updated themselves slightly, I think, because of the way the spreadsheet works. But I had a quick look, and I don't think they've actually affected the where they were before or something like that. I'm not sure. I think everything's fine. I have accounted for a couple of the matches that have been played. But I think as it stands, as of the week that I'm talking to you now, which is 10, Red Division is Philadelphia Braveries in the going straight the bye week, and then it will be Pelipers versus Rochester Rhydons, I think. Then the Blue Division will be, as of this week, is Colorado Rapidash in the bye, and then Minnesota Vikavolt versus... It's actually, weird enough, the match that would have been played this week. Minnesota Vikavolt versus Seattle Star Raptors in the playoff match, the first playoff match. But important to note, actually, that next week's battle is Colorado Rapidash versus Minnesota Vikavolt, so that could change. That could definitely change. And then the week after, of course, is this week's postponed match, which is Minnesota Vikavolt versus Seattle Star Raptors. So those three teams that are currently in the playoff spots play each other in the next 2 weeks. So keep an eye on that. And Silver Division is Luster City Pokemon Club, despite all the hacks against them, in the bye week, followed by Maryland Torterrapins, and I think, I want to double check this is right, I think Orlando Magikarps was still ahead. Yeah, I think Orlando, like the recent play by Orlando Magikarps has put them in the playoff spot. But that being said, United Kingler are nipping at their heels. I just realised that was an unintentional pun, but are nipping at their heels. And then we have in the Gold Division. Gold Division is really weird because I need to make sure I've got this right. But well, as it stands, there are 7 teams already ahead. Like the entirety of the Blue Division playoff teams are ahead of the bye week of the Gold Division. That's how weird it is in Gold Division. But Manchester United are on the lead in the lead here, and then Los Angeles Landers and New York Clinks. I did have to double check to make sure they haven't played this week, because I was only aware of them only having 1 win last time I remembered, but they won last week as well. So the week I wasn't really paying attention to anything because I wasn't here. But yeah, Manchester United are in the straight off, and then Los Angeles Landers and New York Clinks, despite only having 3 wins, being 3 and 6, New York Clinks are in the playoff spots as it stands as of this week. Now, also it is important to mention that the Seattle Sea Kings do technically have a game in hand, because they do have the postponed match with the Free State Torcats. That's still going to be happening, because that postponed match was... I wasn't aware of this at the time. Like, if you cast your mind back to week 3 when there was a postponed match between Free State Torcats and Seattle Sea Kings, that was actually postponed to week 12 as well. Same as, Minnesota Vikings versus Gear Hat this week, being postponed to week 12 because they both had a bye that week. Jodor has a bye in week 12, so Duncan at the time said, I'll battle you in week 12. Even though he doesn't have a bye in week 12. I'll battle you in week 12. when you've got your bye, just so it doesn't affect your schedule too much. So that's still going to be happening, even though it's not going to be Duncan battling. So that's still going to happen. So that might change things in terms of the playoff race, because it is literally both of those teams are on 3 and 6 as it is. I think. So, but the New York Lynx differential is higher. It's +3, which is absurd. I'd just like to point out, like, New York Lynx is on +3 differential. I just want to double check in case I'm actually going to spoil next week's battle for Manchester United here. But hang on 1 second. It's taking a second to load. But oh wow, why are you not loading at all? That is just obnoxious. There we are. No, that's not. It's not spoiling next week's match. So yeah, Manchester United, despite being 6 and 4 and in the lead of the playoff and going straight through to the second round at this point, are on -2 differential. New York Lynx 3 and 6, +3 differential, and in the third playoff spot. Gold division is mental. But anyway, that's what it is. So you've got Philadelphia Braveries, Leicester City Pokemon Club, Colorado Rapids, and Manchester United going in the first playoff spot in both of them, going straight round to the second round. And then you've got New Orleans Peppers, the Pelipers, the Rhydons in the first one, Minnesota Vikings, Gearhart, and the Star Raptors in the second one, Maryland Terrapins, Orlando Magikarps in the third one, and then Los Angeles Landers and New York Lynx in the fourth one in the playoffs. So crazy. Still 3 weeks yet to go, and that could all change. So just wanted to give you a quick sort of notification on that. But that's it for me this week, and hopefully that was a little bit more palatable and easier to get through than previous weeks. It was taking sometimes like an hour and a half, which is stupid. But yeah, that's it for me. I've been AmazingChi, you've been amazing too. I'll see you again next week. Or, well, not see you, but you know what I mean. Ta-ra!